Thank you very much. With that, we bring in retired Navy Captain Brent Sadler, whose 26 years of service includes operational tours on nuclear-powered submarines. He is now Heritage Foundation Senior Research Fellow, and retired Lieutenant General Mark Watherington, former B-1 and B-2 pilot, served as Deputy Commander of the Air Force Global Strike Command. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's very good to have both of you with us today. I want to get to a quote from leadership in Iran, but I think first I'd like to get your reaction to the news that was just reported by Trey Yanks and Brent Sadler, Captain Sadler, if I may start with you. So if they are employing air defense capabilities at Qasem Island, which, everyone's very familiar with Karg Island, Qasem is one of the other operational facilities for oil production in Iran. If they're beginning to show signs that they're operating those air defense systems, what does that tell you?
Well, thank you. And the location of that island is important to note because of the other naval facilities and its proximity to the Straits of Hormuz. And so I think it's not necessarily, I wouldn't lead to conclusions that we're going after their oil infrastructure. It's too early to know that. And this information doesn't point in that direction yet. But clearly the Iranians have been using, swarms of small boats backed by drones and perhaps some limited air, again, like maybe helicopters, but very short range. Perhaps these could be the attacks, the long-awaited ones, to go after to degrade the last parts of the IRGC's maritime forces, these small motorboats, the Mosquito fleet, if you will. And so we'll hopefully hear in the next few hours what actually the targets are. I think if it is that, you'll see confidence go up that the strait is being made safe or safer for shipping to pick back up.
So, with regard to that, Colonel Watherington, tell me a little bit about, Commander Watherington, tell me a bit about what you think the options are that are being laid on the table for the president right now, because he has said, they know what will happen next if they don't come to an agreement that is acceptable to both sides. And he was presented with some options, apparently, over the weekend on Saturday. Another Situation Room meeting, we understand, will take place on military options tomorrow as well. What do they look like? What do you think?
Well, Martha, thanks for having me. And I think Brent highlighted a couple things to bear in mind. One is you're not going to change the geography of this fight. And certainly the Strait of Hormuz and where Iran sits astride that is an incredibly difficult geography for us to deal with. And it wouldn't surprise me that we would try to continue to eliminate the offensive capabilities that regime has in that area. But this is going to be an ongoing effort, right? It's going to be tough to completely eliminate any of those capabilities, whether that's the drones, whether that's some of their very simple ballistic missile capabilities. We're going to continue to hit the production of those types of weapons, but they're going to continue to adapt and shift that production around. And so I really see, how much of an effort is going to be made, how much of a signal are we trying to send, how much pain are we trying to impose to demonstrate that we can be there and cause some effects in Iran that are detrimental and influence that regime and their choices.
All right. I'm just getting word of a new post by President Trump, which we will take a look at. It says, I've been asked by the Emir of Qatar and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, and the President of the United Arab Emirates. And he goes on to talk about the leadership of the Gulf states to hold off on our planned military attack on the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow. In that serious negotiations are now taking place, and that in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made which will be very acceptable to the United States as well as the countries in the Middle East and beyond. The deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran. Based on my respect for the above-mentioned leaders, I have instructed the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, and the United States military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full, large-scale assault of Iran at a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. Thank you for your attention as the close, as he often does, from President Trump. Let me just get both of your reaction to that. Brent Sadler, you first, if you would.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to also note at the same time, you've got President Putin in Beijing right now meeting Xi Jinping, following up after President Trump's successful summit meeting there last week. So Whether or not the Russians play into this calculation, of course, the Russians do have relations with many of those Gulf nations as well, another oil power, so there could be a calculus there. But not to draw too many conclusions from that, I think it's important to note that those same countries were very disappointed that there weren't more stronger military attacks against Iran at one stage in this. And so now, if there is potential for a deal, it's something that's not being seen very clearly. Perhaps there's fractures in the regime and outreach that we're not seeing yet. But again, take away the Iranian regime's ability to threaten the strait, and it's these small boats and a very visible, attack against those might actually have the same effect. Get the Iranians to be more compliant in negotiations. Gas prices would start to go down because the shipping would be able to transit more safely. It's really the small boats is the last thing they have to harass, and it's certainly not sinking ships.
So, Commander Watherington, weigh in, if you would, on the president's post just a moment ago. And I would just say at the outset that one of the, interesting characteristics of all of this in the history of the Middle East is that from the beginning, it really has seen the United States, Israel, and these Gulf states on the same side. Why do you think that the Gulf states at this stage of the game, because we know the outcome that they want as well, they want to be dominant in the region. They don't want Iran to have the ability to hold everyone hostage in this region. Why might they be asking the president to wait on an attack that we're now learning was scheduled for tomorrow?
I think the importance of the statement that the president made was the emphasis placed on collaboration with our allies in the region. And certainly the Gulf states have taken a tremendous beating in some respects from Iran. Very surprised at the outset how aggressive Iran was at striking those Gulf states. They certainly have a desire to limit the amount of attacks or destruction that occurs, but they also have a desire to, for stable economic and commercial use of the strait. And I think they're working toward that aim. And I think deep down, Iran also shares that interest. And it's good to hear that we're working toward that type of collaborative solution.
Commander Watherington, Captain Sadler, thank you very much. Good to have you with us, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.